entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Welcome to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for being with us today. Getting the Edge is brought to you by Edge Media Hub, a business community, and Media Solutions. We've been around for quite some time now. For more information on Edge, you can check out edgemediahub.com. Ultimately, we are entrepreneurs dedicated to growth and excellence, and it's been a lot of fun over the years watching so many amazing entrepreneurs and business owners and community leaders. We're all growing together, and so many have been on to share their story, and we are grateful. I've always been a firm believer that we can learn so much from each other. And it's been a lot of fun bringing people on and sharing not only successes, but failures and tips and strategies and different ways they've overcome. And even if you're not experiencing something exactly like what someone else may be going through, there are different ways that you can look to apply to your own life. So again, just honored to be here each and every week sharing stories with amazing individuals within our Tampa Bay community. So again, for more information, check out edgemediahub.com. If you've not yet, be sure to subscribe to Edge Business Magazine. For only, I think, $40, you can get unlimited connections to our newsletters, as well as each issue that we produce and publish each year of the magazine. They're a lot of fun, great content. I tell you what, I'm so excited. All the contributing writers with this upcoming issue. We have our second annual Celebration of Women. This was our first that came out in 2019 with Mayor Jane Castor. So many phenomenal women. So this next one, this will come out late May, and we have, again, just 10 phenomenal women from Pam Iorio to Rita Lohman, Kathy Fountain, and Rhea Law, and the list goes on. And it's been so much fun getting to know all of them. So be sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss a copy. And keep up to date with all of our upcoming details and events that we look forward to bringing back later this year with Edge. So we're looking forward to about September 29th is what we're tentatively planning on. Of course, we'll follow CDC guidelines at that time, but we can't wait to come back and bring everyone back together. So, again, more information on that coming soon. So, so excited to be here again each and every week. And one of my favorite people that I have the pleasure of talking with, tech-wise, is in the studio with me today. Welcome, Ken Pomella. Thank you, CEO, RevStar.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be on.
You were on during our virtual transition, and not as fun as being in person, but we did what we had to do. That was, I guess, this time last year.
Yeah, it's been a little bit over a year.
I guess it was. Yeah, it's thankfully we are a year or longer into what we've been through, and we're getting there. I see a light. It's coming.
Yeah, things are definitely a lot better, right?
Yeah,
Especially here in Florida, we can go out. It feels more normal. A lot of folks returning back to the office. Some people don't want to go back to the office, right? Enjoying working from home. So there's somewhat of a new normal, but it's good to see things.
Oh, it is
heading in the right direction.
I was somewhere the other day. We did some photo shoots at the Tampa Yacht Club, and it was just seeing the kids in the pool and just playing and people running around. It seemed normal, and I hadn't seen that in quite a while. That it caught my eye a little. I just noticed it. That wow, these kids are playing, and it's good to see some type of normalcy back in life. But we're always pre-recording. But this weekend is the St. Pete Grand Prix, which is great to see that and that excitement and again things coming back. But then you turn on the news, and you hear about some of the other parts of the country that aren't doing so well. But we'll focus on Florida.
Yeah, I think the Super Bowl felt like a turning point for me.
Yeah.
So things got a little bit more energetic when that happened, and then we had other events like WrestleMania on the tail end of that, and now the Grand Prix.
Well, at that point, if we could handle the Super Bowl without any massive breakout of things, and we did successfully. We had Santiago Corrado was on recently, and he is included in the president and CEO of Visit Tampa Bay, and he's included in the upcoming issue, and he wrote an article on just some of the aspects of Super Bowl, of what we don't really know and behind the scenes. It's we have a lot to be proud of. Tampa's an amazing city.
Yeah,
and not only because Ken Pomella's here, right? Or that's one of the reasons.
You're too kind.
Oh.
I think when you look at what it takes to pull off a Super Bowl, even under normal circumstances, and then, the fact that we had to do that under, kind of duress of COVID, it's a real testament to just everyone we have here in this town and all the organizations committed to making Tampa great.
Yeah, and I think that's what's been nice is, or one of the benefits of everything. You got to look at the good, right, or try to look for the good. But it's it's all those individuals, that have come out that make up organizations, but that have just done so much and come together to make a difference. And it pulls on your heartstrings, as I always say. Anyway, so So how are you doing, Ken? How's business? How have you overcome and survived our COVID funness we've experienced?
So I think last time we talked, we were kind of shifting to, fully remote. I mean, we're a pretty kind of remote company anyway, just by the fact we're very global, right? We have teams, we're in 5 countries now. So transition was a little bit easier. But, we had an interesting challenge, right? Because there was, when COVID was bad in one of our locations, it may not have been in other locations, and then it kind of went in this cyclical pattern, right? So even up to a couple of weeks ago, we had a lot of folks that are working on projects that ended up in the hospital for 3 weeks. So trying to balance these deadlines and obviously making sure people are safe and being taken care of, it's tough, right? So there wasn't just like a period where, okay, COVID affected us here in the States, and now it's pretty much back to normal.
Right. No,
we've been seeing it in waves.
Right.
So.
And that is when you look outside of the country, or when you have a business that's dealing not just here locally, but so then you are obviously going to be affected. It probably is important for you to stay alert with what's going on outside, just so that you're able to then know what these, your teams and clients, in these other areas are experiencing and how to deal with those. Tell us a little bit about RevStar, because just in case someone doesn't know, a little bit about the software and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a custom software development shop. We're really kind of specialize in building on the cloud. So what that means for our customers is scalable, cost-effective, secure solutions. So I always say
scalable, cost-effective, secure solutions.
Yeah, exactly.
I missed one, I think, maybe, but you go ahead.
No, that was it. So
That's good.
The whole point of that is I always say we don't build things just to build them, right? They have to perform, they have to add value to our customers. So while we're building a lot of the similar front ends that you would see from other folks, right? Web apps, mobile apps, smart devices, IoT projects, we even do some blockchain work. It's really all driven by the cloud, right? And that's how we're able to build this stuff where it's cost effective for customers, where they can scale, not have to worry about the headaches of growing their business, and it's secure. We deal with a lot of industries where compliance is involved, so HIPAA, high trust, PCI. We're working a lot in the finance world and inside the insurance world.
As a business owner, but being on the more of the creative side and not being technical or operational, necessarily, sometimes we don't know what solutions are available. Does that make sense? We know we have problems, but we don't even know what potential solutions could be there unless you talk with someone like yourself that could provide those. Otherwise, we kind of just continue going in circles doing something and I think that's where you've been great, even in my world, is kind of enlightening me on what you are able to do, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, I use that phrase a lot.
Right.
So I think that's where it all starts. Whether you're building something custom or you're picking out a third-party tool, it's all about aligning your expectations and what you want for your business with the solution. So, a lot of folks come to us, they don't have the budget yet to build something custom. So we try to point them in the right direction, still help them kind of outline what they're looking for, and find them a third-party tool that maybe if it's not 100% fit for the exact process that they want,
right,
but it's 90% of the way there, they can
right,
start growing the business that way. And then maybe down the road they need something more custom, they want it tailored exactly to their process, and then we can
as the
step in and
business
help.
grows, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we had mentioned with you briefly, because we are in the process of trying to take what we have and then just make it more efficient as we're building and bringing back on team members and just trying to get everything in one space now, so that again, you get there when you get there, as I've said. So we've been looking into different methods and ways of what is the best third-party tool to use in a sense. And you had a great point earlier, which was, identifying what you need. And that is almost sometimes hard for individuals like myself, where, it's just so routine and you're so used to maybe doing ways from processes that were created years ago, right? But now different things have changed, and it is difficult sometimes. Would you agree? Yeah,
absolutely. And even terms like project management, right, evolve over time. So a project management tool in my world in software, 15 years ago, the de facto standard was Microsoft Project. Now there's all these agile tools, right? Jira, Azure DevOps. Then there's things like Trello that are just like a Kanban board, right? Anyone can use that. So even within that kind of little small space of a business operation, right? The game changes constantly.
Right. Well, and again, it's identifying those steps that you need. And you kind of mentioned a good example with Ashley Butler, which is a great friend of ours and community partner, and how she was looking for something. But again, it's identifying what you're going to use, and because why pay for something that you're not going to use? Any tips on that, or how you identify or pull out? Like what a business would be using necessarily. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you may end up using a few tools, right? Like the same tool that you use to manage projects won't help you track your accounting, right? Those tools don't exist, right? They're very different functions. So it's really, do you want to tackle something across the whole business, or are you really concerned about a specific part? So if you're looking at how do I manage day-to-day work, you start looking at a work management tool, right? If you're looking to manage your inventory, right, you'll look at a tool, maybe a Dynamics tool from Microsoft if you're have a storefront and an online business, right? So it just depends on what your goals are. And that's where talking to somebody and telling them what you're looking for and they understand will help you. So a lot of people, say, I need a tool. They Google something that, I think it does a couple of the things I need. And they'll pay for it, and they're paying really for more than they need, or, there was a tool that was a better fit.
Is there anything in particular that you use for your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're managing software projects, generally we're using Azure DevOps or Jira, and those are very specific tools that manage an agile software development process. Right, so that may not be a good fit for every business.
Okay, when you say agile, everybody has different definitions for things. What do you mean when you say that? Like, what are you referring to?
Yeah, so the time-boxed iterative development, right? Okay. So the whole point of that, and you can apply that into a lot of things, marketing, IT ops, but it's really, we're going to plan a set amount of work for a set period of time, and we're not going to work on anything else until that's done. So I would say a tool like Jira or Azure DevOps is probably overkill for a marketing project, but where you get, something like a Trello is great because you can still achieve that same thing with kind of all the bells and whistles that you don't need if you're not doing software development.
So, for instance, as there's so many different components, like as I'm sure there are in many businesses where you have the client communication and customer service, I guess you might refer to it as, and then you might have your product development. And as one of the things with the magazine, and I'm still old school with it, is I have a Word doc that I've used forever that has all of, so every time a page comes in or however, and it works with my graphic team, they understand it, but it's probably, every time that I do a new issue, I'm recreating this. In a sense, I'm not, the template's there, but it's still and it's not cloud-based.
Right.
So that there's got to be some other way to create something like that. And does anything come to mind, or?
Yeah, I don't have a specific tool that pops in my head. Yes, you can always build something custom. I'd say there's probably no process you couldn't customize a solution for, but then it becomes a question of, is it worth the investment, right? So if you look at what your business workflow is, and if you're going to go the third-party tool route because that's what's in the budget, really still defining that whole path through the company will help you kind of align the different tools to the different areas, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because even I know Excel and Word and just even some of those basic things can. I've never cared for Excel at all. Those formula boxes, yeah, I get anxiety every time I try to work with it. But I would think even something like that, could be some type of template tool. But anyway, I don't care for Excel. No. Sorry.
Yeah, so Excel isn't as user friendly, right?
Yeah.
It does a lot. You can automate a lot with Excel, and there's a lot of people that just don't use it, right? Same thing, they're kind of afraid of it. Seems too complicated. But yeah, that's a very basic tool that can help with a lot of things. I mean, financial projections.
Yeah,
You can keep track
it's great
of
when you can find a
inventory.
template that you can.
Yeah.
That may not be exactly what you need, but you're able to tweak it then and use it to fit into, and use it for your whatever you need it for. But I haven't found that yet.
I mean, it's really a database at heart when you think about it. It's a very streamlined data. You can store things in it.
Talking about Excel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love the iPad. I tell you what, this has been like the best investment. And I had an older one, but I love this thing from the art and just from a creative perspective. But I like pages or numbers. Is that
Okay.
what is that Apple's? Maybe
Yeah.
that's Apple's version of Word. Word is Microsoft. Again, I'm the creative. I'm not technical by any means, but it's interesting. They have easier formats and I guess easier templates that sometimes I've been able to work with. So it seems a little easier than it might be, if you don't have that. I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
Do you have,
I think everyone gets used to a platform too, right? So, Apple has always kind of been the company that touted we make it easy for people, right? They used to have a one-button mouse because that was easy. So I think there's some truth to that. The Office tool that they have probably is easier to use. Excel, became this kind of jack of all trades tool. I mean, you can put like macros in there and run automated programs, and so like I said, there's started to become some learning curve to use.
I can only imagine if with the brain power behind it, I can only imagine what it can perform and accomplish for you. Yeah, my needs are not that numerous or whatever would be a number. Anyway, all right, funny. What about? Have you ever heard of HoneyBook?
No, I have not.
No, there's just been some interesting ones that obviously we mentioned NetSuite earlier, but that's huge. And you have it's interesting as you look because some of these, they have manufacturing and vendor, and they'll reorder your everything that you need for import and export. And there's some that are very complex, and then there's others that seem a lot more easier. You mentioned Trello being one of them. Do you know much about that one?
Yeah, I mean it's a Kanban board, right? So it's literally and you
Kanban, is that what you said?
Yeah, so basically the goal there is again to have a backlog, to put only so many items in progress, and not to pull anything from the backlog until those are done, right? So it's helping you stay focused and actually accomplish things. So if you're like me, I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me do this, let me do that. So it's a great tool because I can say, okay, I'm not going to touch anything else until I move this tile over. So that was the whole point of that, the whole Kanban or Kanban,
Okay.
I probably say it wrong, but methodology. And it actually came from manufacturing, which was where it started. And so it's kind of evolved into being this tool a lot of people use in software. But the whole point of it is to focus, finish something, then move on to the next thing. Which,
compartmentalization, in a sense, same thing, where you focus on one thing and kind of do the other. See, I was going to say something to you before I said compartmentalization, and then that threw me off. I don't remember now. That's what I was going to say. So one of my main goals is, as I'm bringing on new people and establishing or bringing people back, actually, I just need. I'm looking for more efficiency. I'm also to the point where I'm anxious to kind of step back some and work from the outside in, and then also work on strategy. But one of the hard parts, I think, from a business owner perspective and a founder, is that, it matters so much. Mm-hmm. So I would love the opportunity to be able to know that I can look into a platform and know that these things are being done if somebody's doing those on my behalf, or I can check and see when somebody's working or having done it. Not that you want to micromanage. I just want to be able to look and see, that the clients are being taken care of, our partners, or whatever it may be, especially as I build in my courage of stepping back some. Any thoughts on that or?
Yeah, so you want to manage with data, right? I mean, it's 2021, everyone wants more data, better data, right? So if for instance, if you use a CRM tool, let's take HubSpot, you load up all your contacts in there, your customers, and you're doing engagement, sending out newsletters. I mean, you can literally see who's opening the newsletter. If you're having folks on your team do outreach, you can see, are they sending emails, are they making phone calls? You can track all this activity. Mm-hmm. And so you can feel comfortable that, hey, the job's getting done, right? With just opening up a dashboard and not having to tap people on the shoulder.
So it's really creating a dashboard that works the best or highlights those main components of your business so that you're able to manage, or oversee, fix problems. And that idea is great, versus having multiple platforms. I'm excited to have everything in one place. Mm-hmm. Right now we're using so many different apps and so many different systems. And it's, okay, you use this for this and this for this. And I'm confusing myself, I
think that's every business owner's kind of elusive dream, right, is to have this one dashboard that they manage their whole company on. And the tough thing about that is building out the different, data sets and then bringing all that information together, right? So that's right now not a simple task. You need to work with an analytics company, or someone who can build a data warehouse, pull all that information in, help you decide what's important to you in the business, and then visualize it. But you might be taking data from 8 different systems that you're using. Right. So that, again, this all comes down to a budgetary thing. I mean, startups that are like, I want this, and I'm like, okay, here's about what that would cost. You're like, well, I don't have that kind of money, right? So it's how do you get there in pieces, right? So while you may have to manage 2 or 3 tools, at least if they're telling you the information you need, that's a lot quicker than having someone email you spreadsheets. So where Excel is great, you feel this kind of growing pain with it, and then you move to one of these third-party tools potentially, or maybe you've grown so fast that you need something custom, you need an analytics solution, right? So there's a lot of it's having someone help you with that IT strategy, where you need to be versus someone coming in and trying to sell you something. So I never approach it that way. My whole thing is, where are you at? Where do you want to be? And what's that timeline look like based on the trajectory for your business growth? Because you can't sell somebody something for $10 million when they're doing $500,000 in revenue, or, you know what I mean? It just, the numbers don't make sense.
Yeah, I guess identifying goals would be number one. And then also future trends, right? And that is, as I've been researching and looking for ways, well, first of all, I really with the media and kind of what we do, I didn't look at us like needing this big, POS system that would, tie everything together. But the more I've kind of been through a discovery stage, I've realized maybe not, but there are still other ways that we can be efficient, and have things together. But one of the things that I know is so important is just keeping track of future trends and building a system that we can grow with or add to later, instead of, I can't imagine, taking the time and investing in this, and then in 3 to 5 years, you need a whole new system of some kind. And I imagine there are a lot of businesses that experience that, but you don't want to have to do that. Something that would be compatible to merge into something else, or just something that you can grow with.
Well, if you get to the point where you build something custom, you want to work with a vendor that's going to build with that foresight, right? So a lot of people ran into issues when COVID happened because people started using these applications that they had built from home, right? And people said, uh-oh, our systems don't scale, right? So a lot of people now are looking at, how do I modernize these old platforms? And sometimes that's a more painful journey than
just recreating. I see.
Yeah,
is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Because it wasn't built the right way in the first place. So a lot of people say, let's migrate this to the cloud. And it's like, okay, great. So we'll just shift it from a server in the office or in a data center to a virtual server on the cloud. That doesn't buy you any better scalability, right? So now someone's looking at it saying, hey, we need to take and refactor this whole back end of this application. And at that point, you may just start over. So, it's tough because, like you said earlier, you don't know what you don't know, so you trust people. And sometimes it's the roll of the dice that you're getting someone that's actually doing what's best for you in the long run.
Well, and ultimately, which, I've learned that every time that you sit down and talk with someone, even us here today, everything that I say is just my opinion. It's what I've learned over the years, and I'm not saying I'm right or wrong about anything that I talk about on the show. It's just my opinion. And same with you. I mean, we're educated, into our specialties, but but still, it's based on our opinion. So it can be overwhelming, I think, especially someone on a budget and new, and maybe more naive that doesn't, I could see where not knowing what you don't know, right? And then getting with the wrong people, that may not have your best interest, and there's all kinds of people out there, which is one of the reasons, again, we're here, because everybody on here, we recommend and highly, we enjoy working with. So that's been a great thing with Edge too, is just the big family of a network, and you're getting people that are going to take care of you. Because if not, we're going to write about them. But go ahead. Yeah.
So I saw it from a lot of different angles, right? Because I didn't start this business right out of college, or I had to go work at places. So I worked at a huge healthcare company where and this is back in the early 2000s, they would spend $2-3 million building software, throw it in the garbage. And so I was like, wow, and then I would go work at startups and smaller companies for a while, then, ended up back in some larger companies. So I bounced around in my career, and I saw that it's very different, right? When you're strapped for cash, you don't have time for mistakes. You don't have time to go rebuild. So if you launch a product and it doesn't work, if you're not a huge company, you can't come back from that.
Right.
So I always approach the situation where if it were me, I put myself in the business owner's shoes, or even if it's an executive at a company, what did I feel like when that was me? Because I had everyone pitching me all kinds of ideas, right? And a lot of times, I had a little bit better vantage point on it because I grew up around this stuff and I had done it for so long, so you can kind of think,
right.
Well, I don't know if this sounds right, but I mean, think about it. If this is the first time you're building something, let's say a cloud-based application, you don't know, so you're listening to somebody, yeah, that sounds great. And again, that's where it goes back to, what is that person's intentions? Are they really looking to do what's best
right.
for you? Or
they could have good intentions, but just not really fully understand, or not taking the time to understand. There's all kinds of different, I guess, situations that could occur there where miscommunication, and who knows.
I don't think anyone does it maliciously, but
right.
it's like if all you have is a hammer, everything's a nail, right? And
right.
that's where I'll say, hey, talk to someone else. We don't do that, Like if you ask me, can you help me with NetSuite? I'll say we don't do NetSuite. We build custom stuff. I mean, I'm happy to, tell you if you have a proposal, I'll look at it, so it doesn't make any sense, or maybe you should think about this, but I'm not going to come in and tell you need to build a custom application if it doesn't make sense for you right now, just because that's what I do.
Right, and if there's a tool that they could utilize that's there now that could be more cost effective for them versus, some type of new creation, again, it's, we firmly believe here it's about relationships. So
right.
you doing that and then working with them in a few years, who knows? Or they could know someone else that then would
right.
refer that business to you. So, that's... It's great to know that we have people we can trust, and because there are so many resources out there, but they aren't a fit for all,
right.
in a sense. Going back to, one of the things I was going to say too, it's interesting as we're overwhelmed as business owners, and especially through COVID, where we're working and wearing all the hats we had finally just gotten rid of, and then we took them back, and you do what you have to do, but it is difficult sometimes. I think we get so worked up working inside the business, and people say that often, try to look out of the box, or try to step out, but it's not always easy. But it is sometimes, if you do and take the time, you do have those breakthroughs every now and then, and something will kind of, come to you and make sense where it may not have 6 months ago. It's just kind of different, but it can be quite overwhelming being in and just, you're almost clouded because you can't see what someone like yourself might see if you come in, because, again, we're all in our own realities anyway. It's, but following and being able to identify future trends, that is something that, the tech world changes daily. I just bought my iPad last year, and they were just talking about the new one that came out, and I love it. I'm fine, but the new stuff just continues to come. How do you stay on top of things?
I think, it's a lot of it is looking at, there's trends, but there's also kind of some things there's patterns, right? And everyone has a different vantage point on it. Some people are early adopters, right? They dive right into bleeding edge technology. And then you have people that are a little more pragmatic. I'd like to consider myself one of these people. So I'll watch it. I might not jump on it the day one, but if it looks like it has traction and it makes sense and there may be a market for it, it's good to bring that in, right? So you don't want to put people on things that are unproven. but you also don't want to be on the other end of the spectrum where you wait 10 years and say, oh, that technology that came out 10 years ago, we should really be looking at that. So again, if you take a pragmatic approach and just kind of watch, is this working? Are people using it? And just give it a little time. I always say, I don't always sign up for the beta version of everything, right? Wait, let somebody else experiment with it, and then if it makes sense, let's try it out.
Yeah, how people are shopping, how people are communicating now with, where employees are working from. I think. Just from so many businesses I've talked to too, there will be quite a few things that we'll continue to do that we've done through this pandemic era, but then there'll be quite a few things I think we go back to normal with, but everyone still focuses on and talks about, a new normal and a new way of doing things and how we evolve into that. And Moez with USF is one of my favorite people too, but he's always, saying being on the winning side of things and, paying attention to what your clients want and the needs. And then I was with Rhea Law the other day, and she made the same comment. We were talking about the Florida economic, some big things that she's working on, but just that how things are different. Our world is different. Do you feel that way? Do you?
So in overall,
from a tech perspective.
Yeah. So from a technical perspective, you see this kind of polarity where folks are either all in on upgrading systems because of what happened during the pandemic, or if they were an industry that maybe took a little bit of a hit, they're kind of holding back budget to see where things go. So it's definitely changed, I'd say, buying patterns. There's less of this gray area of maybe I'll invest in technology, so it's either like all in or
right.
Or
well, if anyone was ever hesitant, they're not anymore. That has definitely been one of the major shifts. Is now with Zoom and Microsoft
right.
Teams and all of the that's what, as I've been researching the management, system management, a lot of it is managing virtual teams now, because so many of us are all over the place. Versus that'll be interesting to see too how that comes back together through the end of 2021, and if people are coming back into offices as they once were, or what percentage of those stay apart. Some of those companies seem to work really well distantly, and with remote workers, and others don't. So it'd be interesting.
Well, and I think it's how you build your company culture, right? So again, we were always a very virtual team, so by proxy, the people that we hire are used to working in that environment. We always had those tools, right? We always had Slack, Zoom. Now those tools are standard for everybody, right? Which is, I think, where the shift happened on that end. But when you build a company, brick and mortar, you're hiring people that enjoy coming to an office, right? And so now if you shift them to being at home, they're not happy. So it's interesting because you want to retain good folks. So how do you come up with like a hybrid solution where the folks that want to come in can, and the people that want to work at home can? Because some people are more productive being at home, right? That feels more comfortable for them. So it was interesting in the IT world. I think we were always more, kind of viewed it. They like to come in flip flops, right? You get the
right. Creative people are right.
You get the picture.
They're
of people
behind the scenes, so they're more casual, and they're not a lot of times in the forefront talking directly with the people, the customers or clients or community, right?
When you get this picture of like people in Google and sleep pods and playing ping pong at the office or whatever, and that was really designed to make them comfortable. So you see when people are comfortable, they're more productive. So that theme's kind of been there, but it wasn't mainstream. And now I think that'll get pushed into the mainstream, right? And you have the same thing with, let's say, students. There's some people that love to go to school, right? They really enjoy being in school. There's other students that just like to learn. So let them continue to learn at home if that makes more sense for them. So it's good to have those options, and that, these things were probably coming, but this just magnified the need for it, right?
Yeah. Well, and even from the school perspective, I mean, some people, though, I feel will almost do have to be pushed in a sense, whether it's going back into the office, because some of them are more reserved. You have people that aren't as extroverted in a sense, but yet, it still could be good, for them, and they still could, maybe even in the office, could be more powerful. So, I don't know. Yeah, it is good to fit everybody's personality with what they want to do, but it's not always the best thing, maybe. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I've already said that before. I just talk.
Well, we have developers that hate being on the phone with customers, right?
Right.
Some people love it. Those people generally will move up into, leadership roles, management roles, right? So my whole point is if you're comfortable working at home and kind of being in the background, and that's, I guess when you're a kid, it's a little bit different. You want to expose them to things.
Well, not even a kid. I mean, even like some adults, I think, sometimes they, we're all different and we all have, and I'm not saying there's any different or good or bad, I just think some people shine if we push some, or they might not. And I would think that'd be one of the harder things with having more of a reserve team is if, you don't, that would be harder, to kind of, I guess, identify with some of those. I don't know. Again, I don't have all the answers.
You see, I think having
it's culture too. Maybe
yeah.
I was going to get back to.
That's the whole thing. So if you see companies have all these office parties, right? And there's always a handful of employees that sit at their desk or they come grab a piece of cake and go sit in the corner, right? The social part is not important for them.
Right,
so why force that on them is my point. So
yeah, that makes good sense too. What do you enjoy doing most?
When I'm not working?
Well, no, first of all, in the tech world, like what do you enjoy doing the most with what you do? And
helping people solve problems. So at one point I was coding, right? And I enjoyed the tech part. And then I realized where, I could add a lot of value is kind of what we were talking about earlier, is helping people align what they need for their business, and with a solution, right? There's less people that are able to do that than there are to write code. So I saw, and I enjoy it, right? But I also saw the need for it. So I think like any good entrepreneur, it's there's a problem, let's solve it.
So you enjoy building systems, but you actually probably enjoy, your deep passion is problem solving and trying to find, and connecting in a sense and understanding what their problem is. And then, creating solutions and then seeing them overcome those problems. That's, would be rewarding, I would think.
Absolutely. I mean, and the same thing on the micro level, right? When you're coding, you're still solving a problem, right? So the problem-solving paradigm's there. But like I said, there's definitely a need to make sure that the things people are spending their time coding actually end up, delivering value to the business. One thing I always hated when I was coding was I'd make something and then no one would use it. And that's the worst feeling as a developer. So that's why I said somebody has to be on the front end of that, making sure that their efforts aren't wasted. So that's where I saw. And
by coding, you're meaning just developing new systems or softwares, but not necessarily for any particular development, just things that you thought would be needed? Is that what you mean? Or you were paid to create something?
Yeah, so I mean, out of college, right, I coded a full-time job like most people that get into coding, right? I would do a lot of things when I was younger just for fun, I think the first thing I ever coded, I was looking at.
And coding you did for fun, is that what you said?
Yeah, when I was young. So I said, So I got up one day and I said, I'm going to remake things that people use, right? So I made my own little word processor. Definitely wasn't as good as Microsoft Word, but that was kind of how I taught myself, in junior high school. And I never thought about doing it for a career. It was just something that seemed interesting. Yeah. And then later on, I would go to college, and then I got a job right out of college. And so that's when I was building things that other people wanted me to. And again, to what I was saying earlier, I would get this packet of requirements, and then they're writing code, right? And coding is just writing words, right, in a structure. So it's kind of like word processing, but you have to have logic behind it. And then we would finish something, and then everyone would hate it. So I'm like, where's the disconnect here? And it was funny, early on in my career, there was kind of this stigma where you would just sit there and code. You weren't supposed to get up and talk to users. I mean, I would get yelled at for getting out from my desk and going, hey, what's going on? What's wrong with the system? It's like, hey, you're up talking to people. Like, no, I'm trying to help them understand.
Well, if you don't understand, how are you able to put something together effectively? Right. All right, that makes sense, I would think. But that is why you probably needed to be out of that role and into the one you're in now, so that you could do more of the discovery.
Yeah. Well, now they have frameworks, right? So that's the whole part of the point of Agile, right? Or, methodologies of it, like Scrum, is let's get everyone on a call together, or let's work together. And that, it made sense intuitively to me back then, but it was, it was a different world, right? We got a big packet of requirements. There was a long project plan. You didn't deviate from the scope. So it's just a difference of, that's like 18 years ago, right? We're in a different place in the technology industry.
Right. Well, when like you said earlier, well, that you'd put this stuff together and they wouldn't like it, are they not like? I mean, you're pretty much just following what you're supposed to do, but then you mean it just wouldn't work the way they wanted it to, or their vision of how it was supposed to work didn't, it ultimately wasn't going to work that way, or what? How did it come out like that way where it was frustrating?
Because I think people always everyone's well-intentioned, right, when they write a scope for something, and so when you're sitting at a table, it's like everyone write this stuff down. What you think of in your head that will work may not actually work. So the whole point of these frameworks like a Scrum and continuous delivery is let these people put their hands on the product as it's built, because whatever you thought day one is very different 6 months later.
And that's exactly my point, as we've been talking about all of this, because our businesses change and the economy and the world and things happen, and having those systems that are easily, I don't know what best word to use for that, to be able to adjust and to
customizable.
Pivot. Yeah, well, yeah, without great expense, I guess. Culture is one of the things that, it's interesting, and that was one of my thoughts and kind of, I guess, concerns as I grew, was because I never really did everything and built it with money in mind. It was with a purpose. It was more purposeful, and then purposeful. As you look on building, then it's really important to make sure that culture is still there. And how, any tips on that as you have built companies out and from a tech perspective and from a virtual world, how you maintain culture?
Yeah, I think so. So for us, it's a challenge, right? Because everyone's all over the planet, right? And I think it really comes from a strong sense of what you want, your purpose as a business owner, and the values of your company, and actually sticking to those things, right? So if you write down a bunch of values, are you following those, and are you holding everyone accountable for it?
Right.
So, to me, just being very clear on how you want your company to be, and then just making sure that drives every action that you take, and then holding your employees accountable for acting in the same way. So that's part of it. And then the other part, obviously, is the things that, you have to do, getting folks out. And then this is tough, right, because we can't do these as large group things, but within our different locations, right, there's get-togethers, people, stuff to bring the team together. So, on a micro scale in those different locations, it's easier to do that than trying to get the broader team together. Right. So, we've always done a lot over, Zoom and those kind of tools and in the chats, right, just to connect. But, yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I mean, it's something that I wouldn't sit here and tell you, like, oh, it's not a challenge having people kind of scattered around the globe, right?
Right. No, yeah, everything's a challenge. It's just a matter of successfully coming up with strategies to accomplish the goals you have in mind, I guess. There's a lot to know in the tech world, and it is constantly changing. We're looking forward to your contribution in the upcoming women's issue. So and I won't give anything away on it, but that's a great story. So I'm looking forward to that. You have to catch out Ken in the upcoming issue. There's so much to know, and it's, again, great to highlight stories and different things going on, and people, in the tech world that we should pay attention to. So where are you from originally?
So I'm from Chicago, so I'm told I have a little bit of an accent, but I guess that's why I say Kanban instead of Kanban, or.
Oh, maybe, yeah. Yeah. I was gonna joke. No, Midwest people, though, are great, and I'm, being from Indianapolis, I'm a fellow Midwesterner.
You're like my neighbor, then.
Yeah, I love Chicago. It's a beautiful city. How long have you been here?
I'll be 13 years this February,
oh,
so
wow.
A little over 13 years.
Yeah, do you miss the cold?
No, I don't miss the cold. I mean, obviously, there's sad parts about leaving where you grew up, right? Your friends, your family,
yeah.
But this has been such a great and welcoming community. I mean, transitioning into the Tampa lifestyle was very simple.
What brought you to Tampa?
Okay, true story. My aunt, had a place down in Southwest Florida, so a lot of summers I would come visit, and so I always loved Florida, but I never had been to Tampa, right? So I started looking at where could I move when I wanted to come down, because there was always a part of me that said I need to be in Florida. And I was at the time, and not to knock on Fort Myers area, but there wasn't really a lot going on business-wise. So
13 years ago, a lot has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so Tampa was kind of serendipitous for me. I was like, well, let's try Tampa. So I came down and visited and just fell in love and knew this is where I needed to be. And I still, it's funny, I I leave to go on trips, and I always can't wait to get back. I mean, there's just something that feels great about living here.
Yeah, and that is, you hear that a lot as people that are proud to call Tampa home, and just the community aspect of it as we travel, and I'm sure as we are able to travel once again. Yeah, we always look forward to coming home. It's I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. Although I look forward to having other homes in other places. I'd always love base camp, base home, however here. Of course, my kids are here too, and the family. So, but yeah, we're pretty lucky, and just all of the development and everything going on around us. We have a lot to look forward to, and. But where I didn't used to like the cold, I would like to visit occasionally, but knowing I'm going to leave, not to stay.
So for me, there's something cool about being like in some kind of wood dwelling on a mountain. Like there's something that feels cool about that. So I would say if I did have a second home, I would probably want it to be, in some kind of mountainous area, because it's nice. I like to hike and.
Well, in Florida we don't have any, so it's like kind of the extreme of what we don't have, but yet. I think that too. I love Denver. My father lived when I was younger, and I used to love spending time in the mountains. Were just beautiful, and so I don't know, but yeah, it'd be great to go somewhere, and especially now I get it. I think the older I get, the less I can tolerate the heat too. It gets so hot in the summertime. I look forward to going somewhere cooler.
I think if you could escape for like June, July, August, and spend some time in the mountains, that's probably perfect.
They even talk about some of the places like along the East Coast that I've looked into, beach towns and how they're, 75 degrees during the summer, but then at night you wear a sweater, that it actually gets cool. And, I look forward to getting out in that area and investigating, because I've not been. I mean, I've been to Atlantic City and New York and those kinds, but not into Maine and Connecticut and into some of those beach towns over there. That's where I don't know why, that's where I want to go. But we'll see. So what about you? What are in the plans? What does the future hold for Ken, Pomella?
Oh, it's a deep question. I think I just want to keep growing my business. I mean, we're still, fairly young company, right? Hungry, growing. So for the foreseeable future, keep pushing to grow RevStar. In the long run, I think, I'd love to do, I'd say more, I'd like to help other people grow their businesses. So I think maybe kind of, when I'm tired of the rat race, help coach other folks. Because what I realize is the most fun I've had was really starting the company. And there's a lot of mistakes I made that, I probably could have avoided had I had reached out and asked for help. So I do, not doing it for a living, but I do mentor and try to get involved in as many programs where I can help other small businesses in the very early stage kind of avoid some of those pitfalls. So I really get a lot out of that. And, for me, I feel a great purpose in helping others. So I think that still allows me to do that, but maybe just on a smaller scale. Yeah.
What do you do when you're not working on RevStar or solving problems?
Well, that does take up quite a bit of my life. I hate to say it, I'm kind of a workaholic.
Yeah,
but
well, most of us are. But.
No, I do. So I mentioned earlier I like to hike, so I try to travel, and so I recently went to Sedona. I've always wanted to go there, so I'd love to be outdoors. I enjoy going to the beach. I try to play golf once in a while, if you can call what I do playing golf. But it's
well, you're trying, right? That is all that matters.
Yeah, so I like to be, just anything I can do outdoors, I enjoy.
Tell me about Sedona. I've heard some great things about the Sedona area and the tranquility and peace of it. Are there certain hike or trails that you go and like to do? That's where there's a really cool attraction there too, or something. I can't think of what it's called now. I don't know if that's in Sedona or not. I've seen a lot of pictures of it lately.
There's a lot of interesting things there. So you have, I will say one thing, the energy there is great. So, being that COVID was kind of this dark cloud that loomed over all of us, I felt like it was a great time to go there just because I'd never been there, but I heard
there's some type of energy thing there too.
So it really is very positive, right? And it's a different vibe there. Everyone there is super happy, and it's not a very materialistic place. So it's way different than the vibe you kind of feel in a city, right? Like growing up in Chicago versus that is a stark contrast. So there's that part, but it's just beautiful being outside. You have red rock mountains with green valleys. I mean, it's 5,000 foot tall, of red rocks. Like it's just kind of cool to see. So yeah, there was a lot of different trails to hike there. My favorite one was one called Devil's Bridge. So it's really neat because there's this kind of thin piece of rock they call a bridge that you can walk out on, and you're just above like all of these like trees, and it's not quite like, it probably sounds a little scary than it is. There's definitely plenty of room to walk, but it's just really neat to.
It's the illusion in a sense when you're. Yeah.
So it's just neat to see, like, to be at the top of this hill on this kind of tiny bridge, and it's a good adrenaline rush.
Yeah, there's some great like scenic stops. It seems in that area, and I was, I can't think of where it was, but yeah, it sounds beautiful, and I've heard some great things about that area. So, is there any other places like as far as hiking or that you enjoy doing?
So I think my next hike, I'll probably want to visit Utah. I've had quite a couple friends went out there recently, so I think I'll probably head out there for my next adventure. As far as, I haven't. So I want to obviously get back to Europe at some point. Go to Italy. So the same man I told you that has the place in South Florida has a place in Italy now, so I'd love to visit.
There you go. Well,
hopefully I don't end up moving there. I want to stay in Tampa, but
you never know. That'd be a great experience as well.
Yeah.
You just never know as we, as things change too. As we, it's beautiful. I've not been there, but it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's so where she's at, it's kind of out in like the wine country area, so it's very kind of tranquil and mountains, and so right up my alley. So we could probably do a little bit of hiking.
Yeah,
and
that's, I think you get to a certain point. I was driving across the bridge the other day, and you look out at the water, and I think you just realize how big the world is and just how much is out there. I don't know, and you get to a certain point. I think I've had blinders on for so many years. Just you work daily in the business and you do what you do, and that's one of the things I think that's been great about COVID in the last year, that it's kind of paused all of us to wake up, and get your head out of that necessarily, and look at family and look at everything else that that is around us. So many of the people, although they may not have enjoyed it, with the kids being forced to work, or, to do school at home, and just all these different, the pause, I think, has been good for all of us, whether we realize it or not. I think sometimes it forces us to pay attention to what's important, maybe. And I look forward to exploring so many places that I haven't yet seen. But it's great when you can look ahead and feel like you still have your whole life ahead of you versus focusing on some things in the past that might have been great. I'm excited for the future. So.
Yeah, I think anything that kind of forces you to stop and take inventory is great.
Yeah.
We did some cool things on the holidays. Like we actually did Zoom calls back with my family in Chicago, and things that we probably could have always done right in the 13 years I've lived here, but it was just that, and everyone's used to doing Zoom, so it's like, oh, why not do Thanksgiving, spend an hour on Zoom, right, with the rest of the family. So, and that's always been big for me, right? I love family's important. I mean, I'm Italian, that's kind of a big deal, right? Family's everything. So I think it's been kind of disconnected for 13 years, and to have that as an option was really great.
Well, the fact that you wanted to do that, might be some type of significance too, as you look back on, how you've grown. Being that you are Italian, maybe Italy is even more of a reason why you should consider it. Who knows? That type of self-discovery and learning more about your heritage and roots and just a family, that'd be a really cool experience. Not that we don't want you here, but we can always,
she's trying to get me.
I know, we can Zoom you from Italy, and we can live vicariously, through you, and we can all come visit you. Everyone in Edge will come visit Ken when they take a break. One of the other things I really love doing these days is reading, and I think once we realize we don't have all the answers, we become sponges and just keep reading. Any favorite books, or what do you enjoy reading most?
So a lot of books about, I don't know what the great term for them is, but I read a lot of books about different parts, like to help with business, right? So, early on when I kind of quit my job to do this full time, I started reading a lot about sales process, marketing, things that I wasn't used to because I was a
Right.
At the time, I was a director of software development, right?
Well, it's great too that you've worked a lot in those areas and have spent so much time in the corporate side of things, and I think it gives you a great perspective as you build your own. And then I think even too, working with clients, you have a more versatile ability maybe to, to understand needs better.
Yeah,
having that background.
Yeah, it's good to have been on the other side of the
Mm-hmm.
fence, rather than being a small business owner, right? That gave me another perspective.
Right.
So I try to read and learn a lot of things that can help me in business. And then my reading for fun, it was funny when I was a kid, I used to read a lot of like horror books. I don't do that so much anymore. It seems like I spend most of my time reading, things where I can learn. So I'm always looking to just kind of, like you said, be a sponge, absorb as much information as I can. And then that helps me in turn with, things that I need to get done.
Yeah, I'm always asking about books because I get so many suggestions on the show, and then I go buy them. So anything in particular? Well, I don't know. Business stuff. I don't want to read about business stuff anymore.
Yeah, I
do, but
I'm trying to think
like more universal, leadership, but ways on how we can all grow. I knew I should have. There was a book I just got, and I haven't read it, which is why I was going to grab it, but I didn't. I don't know, I'll have to share some of the other partners within Edge. We're always talking about books that we've read, and I'll text them or they'll text back like, have you read this one? You read this one? It's like, I think we all get something different from each of them, but it's just fun. I mean, the idea of learning and growing is a lot of fun. Anyway, I could ramble on that subject forever, but we're almost out of time. We've got just about a minute left, so I just want to say thank you for coming on and talking with us. And I know it's difficult when people don't necessarily understand your language, so to speak. I guess it can be, and anyway, so thanks for sharing your knowledge with us today and being on the show. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. We've got all your information online, so with any questions or anything, we'll definitely recommend that they reach out to Ken. And, again, it's whether they need custom software development, or you have questions, or you're looking to use some of the third-party apps, or third-party tools, the way Ken said. Definitely consider reaching out to RevStar. So again, thank you so much for being here. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Please check out Edge Media Hub. Subscribe to our upcoming issues. Make sure you get your custom printed version and copy delivered directly to your home or office. So again, thanks so much. Until next time, never stop dreaming. Thank you.